Hello, people, and welcome back to the Blues feed. Same obsession with a new episode today. We're reacting to the preseason friendlies and what our thoughts are on that and how we shape up for the next season before our full preseason episode, probably coming later this week, Thursday, Friday. Before we jump in, just remember about our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Drop a subscription, pop a comment down below, like a video, and get entered into the Chelsea shirt of your choice once we hit 1,000 subs. Here today with Luke. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Glad to be back and off a couple of nice wins over the weekend as well, which is always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were sharper than I expected, but we'll jump into that in a second. Before we jump into the review of the two friendlies, we've got the best comment from the last video. We want to make sure that you guys can get involved with our episodes. So, first and foremost, I will apologize if I do butcher the name. I do sometimes struggle to say Luke. So, I think it's pronounced Manjaluka. So the best comment was play Achimpong. The kid is quality. We can't have this not ready mentality. Hopefully Maresca will be bold. Look at what Bournemouth did with Huijsen. Play Achimpong or Hato. I think that is a very good take. We were discussing it just before we jumped on, and we're going to go into it in a more detail. I'm not sure there's the perfect purchase out there, and both Achimpong and Hato look quality. Luke, what's your kind of high level thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, firstly, for all the comments because we're getting lots every episode, and we do really appreciate it. And this particular one has led to a section later in the episode where we're going to be talking about centre backs. And to be honest, I think I agree. I think Josh was superb in both the appearances over the weekend. He obviously made that slight mistake on Friday night, but that's minimal. Anyone can slip on a football at any point. That's not down to his ability. It was just misfooting. So yeah, overall, I think that comment is a top. It's a top comment, and it makes a lot of sense with the lack of options in the market, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, it's created a section that we'll get onto after we've spoken about the friendlies. So really appreciate your comments. Everybody get your takes on what you think's going on with Chelsea or what we've discussed, and we'll choose the best comment on every episode to have a discussion about it. Um, so to jump on to the friendlies, obviously Leverkusen and Milan. I mean, I don't think we could have particularly asked for two better friendlies after not playing football for 3 weeks and having trained for about what 4 or 5 days, probably 4 days with playing on Friday as well. So um, two wins, only one goal conceded. Joao Pedro scoring, Delap scoring, Estevao wowing everybody. What's your high level thoughts on the two friendlies, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the game yesterday against Milan, but coming to the Leverkusen game first, I was impressed. I thought we were sharp. I loved seeing the link up between Estevao and Palmer. For two people who don't speak the same language, they were definitely speaking the same language on the pitch because the link up and the way that they sort of combined in different phases were really good to see. And overall, I think the squad just looks in a good place. I think they look together. I think they look happy, and I don't feel like there's any sort of bad blood anywhere. Or I feel like everybody is just happy for each other and wants to compete to get the best outcome for the club. And ultimately, that's us as fans. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think just the fluidity between Estevao and Palmer, like Estevao coming into the 10, Palmer drifting out wide, vice versa, it just created so much space for both of them that you can't man mark them. I mean, you saw it a little bit against Milan, where because you didn't have both of them on the pitch, you'd get Palmer double marked, sometimes triple marked. When Estevao came on for Palmer, you had the same thing. And obviously, Neto and Gittins, I don't think quite attract the same attention as Estevao at the moment, which is quite mental to say because he's literally not even played a proper game for us, a competitive game for us yet. But obviously, watching the Leverkusen game made Milan treat him with a bit more respect than we probably would have would have thought before they'd go into that game. But yeah, I mean, a front three of obviously just people that we've signed so far of like a Neto or Gittins on the left, Palmer in the 10 and Estevao on the right. It just means they're so fluid. They can all interchange. they're gonna just we're gonna make movies this season, I think, in attack, and we're just gonna try and outscore people because I think we still look quite open at the back, albeit open, but then seem to have unbelievable recovery tackles like Caicedo. I mean, Tosin and Trev did it a few times as well. So the actual chances we seem to give up aren't actually that high, but it always feels a little bit more open than I would particularly like. But we'll go on to the defense in a little bit. I just wanted to go through some of the stats that in both games just to prove the absolute domination. I mean, against Leverkusen, we had 4 big chances, 24 shots, 7 corners, 70% possession. We just absolutely dominated them. They didn't have a sniff. I can't remember a chance that they had. I mean, they had 0 big chances, only four total shots in the whole entire game. It was just pure and utter domination from the start to the finish. And then against Milan, it was 53% possession instead of 70, but 4 big chances, 19 shots, 6 corners. Again, just dominated them from start to finish. Even before the red card, we dominated them. And then in the second half, they came out and they were a little bit better, but also we kind of already knew we were winning the game, and we still scored 2 goals in the second half anyway. Um, Only conceded 4 big chances against Milan, 11 total shots, but I would assume that quite a few, yeah, 3 big chances in the second half when the game was kind of already won. We conceded. So, yeah, utter domination between the two. Anything you want to add on that front?
Yeah, one of the things that really struck me that being there live yesterday was when we sort of build up with the ball last season, there was a lot of frustrations about the sort of sideways, backwards passing, and there were still elements of it, but it looked like from watching the players off the ball, there was a purpose behind it. It was
Hmm.
like, right, let's move the ball, and the second we find the right pass or the right bit of space, we will go. And you noticed it for the free kick that Gittins won for the first goal. It was like pass, pass, pass. All Gittins can go, bang, give him the ball, let's go. And there was a couple of occasions where it was like that, and it was sort of Tosin, Caicedo, Chalobah, Caicedo, sort of little triangles here and there. But as soon as somebody was there ready, or like a couple of times, Joao Pedro would trigger it by making a run. It would draw a defender in, and then they would spray it wide to whichever attacker it was. Neto was sort of my side in the first half. So, and then it would spray to Neto, and then bang, Neto's 1-on-1. He whips that cross in. Pedro scores a header. Like it was just, they all looked like they were singing off the same hymn sheet, and it looks like that they're all starting to get to grips with sort of Maresca and the way that he wants to play. And it was something that you and I spoke about heavily on Simon's podcast last at the end of last season. That were they just passing it because they didn't understand how to play Maresca's way, or was it sort of a thing that is quite common to hear nowadays? Like you've got to get worse to get better, and it at the time it was like we had a debate, and you was like it's just terrible football, and it was. And I said that it can't be the end goal. No manager could want that to be the end goal. And it looks like finally we're starting to understand what maybe Maresca's tactical end goal is. And he wants to attack, he wants to be fluid, and he wants that sort of not controlled basketball football is the way that I can sort of explain it. And we sort of had it at the start of last season where it was completely uncontrolled, and there was no real patterns or phases or anything, where now there's patterns to it, there's phases to it. You can see that players know exactly what their role is. And also, if we lose the ball, there was one instant Caicedo tried to play like a really, really tight threaded pass through the middle of the two Milan midfielders into Palmer's feet. What happened was it rebounded, so like it banked again against the shins of the Milan midfielder, and suddenly Cucurella was there and he won it back. And it was like they know that if they're not going to play a simple pass and they're going to try something, that the player beside them is going to win that ball back straight away, so that we're not suddenly going to get countered on. And that happened a few times where players tried something a little bit more extravagant or quite a tight little pass, and bang, if we lost it, there was somebody there to win it back again. And there just seems like a real cohesion and ultimately a confidence amongst the group. And obviously that comes from being world champions. But I was so impressed. And a couple of things that struck me: Joao Pedro is a lot bigger in person than he looks on the telly. He is a handful, and he is quick. And I thought everybody looked lively. Neto and Gittins were so direct. Every time they got the ball, it was run at the defender, and it's something we lacked last year a lot. And it weren't just running at them for running's sake. There was a real purpose behind each one. And last topic, because I've been waffling for a minute now. Reece James, man, he looks confident in his body again. Like Reece is a brilliant footballer and he knows his ability, but he looks like he's got confidence in his own skin again. And in his body, there was obviously the one where Leao rounded Sanchez, and I still don't know how he made the tackle. And then in the first half, he made like a outward sliding tackle from behind Leao, but didn't take any of the player and got the ball. And I have no idea how he did it, and it was just incredible. And he was superb yet again.
Yeah, no, I agree with most of that, if not all of it. I think what I would add to that is last season. The way I could describe it is last season it seemed like we were passing for passing's sake. It
Yeah,
was left back to centre back to centre back to right back to CDM to centre back to centre back to left back. And like we didn't move defences. They could just kind of shuffle to the left and shuffle to the right, and we didn't create any spaces. Whereas like now we are popping the ball about with purpose and with the idea of trying to bait them out of them the press and then attack the space. And if that doesn't work, a quick switch into, I mean, we saw it against Leverkusen. Palmer switched the ball to Estevao multiple times. Yesterday, he switched it to Neto to Gittins multiple times. And it just creates that space and that unrest in defence. They can't rest into a structure because we are moving the ball around with purpose and with speed. Whereas last year it was very slow, methodical pass. They never really skipped a man. They never just did anything like that. It was very methodical to the next person that was to the person that was right next to him, and that was it. So yeah, that I mean, even since the Club World Cup, we've seen it that they're passing with speed. I mean, even in the heat yesterday, in the Club World Cup, it was very still playing with speed and with purpose. And with the fact we've got the large squad now, we can go and everybody can just run around for 60 minutes with work their arse off, and then if they're tired, they can come on and come off, and somebody with a similar quality or not a massive drop off can come on and do a very similar job. So yeah, it's very impressive. It's very exciting to see. I mean, not a lot of people were particularly sold on the Joao Pedro thing, but I was always a massive Joao Pedro fan. I've liked him from Watford's days, and he seems to be one of those players that steps up and plays better with better people around him. And he's a big game player. You'll probably see this season, I would imagine, against the traditional top six or in the Champions League, Joao Pedro will score unbelievable big goal, big goals in big games. So and now you're going to have Palmer who does that. Pedro does that. I mean, Cucurella has that gene. Enzo Fernandez has that gene. Estevao is going to score big goals. So we're no longer kind of Cole Palmer FC, which actually just then makes Cole Palmer better because you don't have to have all of everything go through him at all times, and he's the only way we do anything. So it's very exciting. And on the Reece James comment that you make, yeah, he seems to be confident in his body, and long may that continue. And he looks quicker. It looks like he was like limiting himself to about 80% of speed last year, like
yeah.
probably subconsciously, just in case he hurts himself. But he looks quicker, he looks stronger, he looks confident, he looks fit. And Reece James in that form, um, I mean, he's the best right back in the world, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
think there's anybody who can chat to him when he's flying and playing well. I mean, we saw him go forward, we saw him kind of invert, we saw him defense attack, whipping balls in. He just looked like he's back to himself. And I have to give Maresca and Reece big plaudits for that because Maresca's managed him and probably held him back compared to what Reece would have liked to do in the season last year, and he must be doing more off the pitch to be able to play like this because how many
Yeah.
times have we seen before? You think he's back, you think he's back, you think he's back, and then he gets injured in training, and you don't even ever see him for 4 months again.
This is the longest Reece has been involved with the squad for since he has become a first team player. He's
Yeah,
been back. He's been back in the squad now since December, since mid December.
yeah,
Without any injuries. I know he's had a couple of bouts of illness and things. And the thing is with Reece, if there's even a 1% doubt, you just don't take the risk.
yeah.
And as
Especially
long
with
as
Gusto and Achimpong, like
exactly,
you
yeah,
don't
we've
need
we've
to.
got good enough. We've got good enough players there. I mean, like Malo Gusto in the Club World Cup and in these two friendlies has looked like the Malo Gusto of the Poch season where he was pretty good
Yeah.
because he's not being asked to invert and do a job that he can't do.
Yeah, I
So
mean that's what I thought was massive yesterday was when Reece came out and Gusto came in. You didn't see a massive drop off because they weren't asking Gusto to do stuff that he wasn't like. He weren't playing in the number 10 position or receiving the ball with back to goal in a number 6 or whatever. He was
yeah,
doing a very similar role that what James was doing. He was in the right centre back in the rest defence. He was overlapping Estevao if we had the ball for a long period of time. So Gusto at that way of playing is probably the best backup right back you could probably think of in the Premier League as well. He probably starts for most teams and
yeah.
will probably be the best backup right back that's out there as well.
Exactly. And then you've
So
got, like you say, you've got Josh as well, who, for me, I think Josh is more of a centre back than a right back, personally, especially if it was a centre back in a three.
yeah.
Um, because I just feel like he reads the game well and he carries the ball out centrally really, really well. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we
don't think he's going to be an overlapping right back, but in that right centre back, slightly pushed up type, ball carrying type right back, right centre back, whatever you want to call it. I think he can do fantastic,
yeah,
and we'll go on to centre backs in a moment anyway, and we can discuss that in a little bit more detail. But just on the kind of friendlies and on the tactics overall, I mean, it looks like it's a continuation of the Club World Cup, where it would be kind of a rest back three, two DMs, which now seem to be more of an Enzo and Caicedo or Santos and Asugu when they came on. So the two in front are actually midfielders and not a right back or a left back. Obviously, they do drift in and they can firm up that midfield at points, but in a structure, it's the midfielders, and then you're having your four across the front, which is usually one of the fullbacks, and then the wingers, Palmer and another winger on the right hand side, and then one up front. And then what I noticed quite a lot yesterday by watching it on the telly is when we're then recycling the ball and we might have it for periods of time, Cucurella was always forward. But also, if we kind of recycled it a few times and we'd got them pinned in, James was still overlapping and pushing forward as well, which we're committing a few more bodies forward, which is only going to help us score goals. But then we still had that rest defense of the 3-2 structure, or sometimes at points a 2-2 structure. But we still look defensively solid at points as well. Um, any comments you want to add to that from a tactics perspective?
yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think like the Joao Pedro goal yesterday was actually created by Reece because without any actually involvement on the ball, because he overlapped Pedro, which made the defender have a second thought. He took a step out, which allowed Pedro Neto to cut in, and he whipped the ball in, and that was it. That was the rest of that. So having that ability to get your fullbacks overlapping, as well as the fact that they can sort of be in midfield as well, and they're both brilliant on the ball. It just gives you so many different options. And I don't know. I feel a little bit like a broken record because we keep saying it, but we're just going to be so hard to play against in terms of you don't know what way we're going to set up, what tactics we're going to put out. You never know. You might come to the Palace game next week. He could put Joao Pedro on the left and Delap up front. Suddenly, it's a completely different environment. Or you could
Yeah.
keep Gittins there and it might be Estevao on the right, or Palmer might be on the right, and you might have somebody else in a 10. There's just so many different ways that we can line up from a personnel perspective, but also from a tactical perspective. So, yeah, I'm really really impressed with what I've seen over these two games, considering they only went back to training this time last week. So yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
impressed
I
from what I've
think
seen.
to add to your point as well about the Reece overlap, which created the space. I mean, with the people that we have in the wide areas, if that's either Cucurella on the left doing that for Gittins and potentially Garnacho, or Reece on the right side for Neto, or Estevao or Palmer if he's playing out there as well, um, it just creates that so much more space. I mean, it was a big criticism of I had of Maresca last year of by inverting that midfielder, reverting the right back or the left back into midfield, it just took that overlap away, which just meant that Neto and Madueke just had to do everything on their own on that side. It was literally 2v1 or 1v1 every single time with no space to do it because they had nothing else to think about. So yeah, it's a good tactical tweak. I was not Maresca's biggest fan last year. I mean, if you'd seen me on Simon's podcast or any articles I'd written for Simon, I would have been screaming for Maresca to leave at points last year, but he's kind of changed to what I've asked him to do. So yeah, maybe he should just listen to me more a bit earlier, and we would have done better last year. But I've always quite liked the structure of the 3-2-4-1 type structure, and I've understood what he was trying to do, but just putting the wrong people in the wrong position. So with him stopping doing that, I'm very happy and very confident. In what we can achieve next year. So before we go on to the centre back reinforcements bit, last bit on the preseason, would you say watching the two games have your expectations increased by seeing how we're performing, or do you think we're just more solid in what you expected from us? What's your kind of take?
I feel like we look better than I expected. Firstly, I I still have a slight hesitation around um, just the burnout aspect, and is the Club World Cup going to catch up with us at some point? But I think we spoke the other day offline, and I think that the first couple of months of the season, at least, it's going to help us more than hinder us, because a lot of
Yeah,
teams have already been back in pre-season for 6 weeks when the season starts, which means they've probably played 5, 6, 7 games. Old niggles will start to resurface. Anyone who plays football know what it's like. First few weeks back, you feel brilliant, like your legs feel great. You've had a nice rest, and then after sort of 6, 7, 8 games, you start to pick up little niggles, or old injuries resurface. So I feel like it's really going to help us to start with. I am just slightly concerned about the burnout thing. And to be honest, I don't want to overreact from just two friendlies, but I think like we're probably just going to win everything this season.
yeah. I put something
Um,
out on our Twitter. I think it was on Friday after the Bayer Leverkusen game, and it was like me talking to myself before a game, and it was actually on a negative perspective, not a positive perspective. It was like, don't overreact. If we look shit, it's not going to matter. We've only just come back. Leverkusen have played 4 friendlies. Don't overreact. And then we won convincingly, and I was like, okay, cool, we're winning everything. So I
yeah,
completely ignored my own advice. So
yeah,
yeah,
no.
I
But
mean,
on a serious note, thought all along. I thought we could finish third or fourth probably this season, and I still back that. And I think it heavily depends on the Arsenal and the Man City that we see as to whether we finish third or fourth. Because I know a lot of people are backing Arsenal for the title, which I think is mental.
I don't
I
think they're
think
any better
Arsenal
than they were last year.
exactly, and I think Arsenal are going to finish fourth personally, and it'll be us that'll be
Yeah, I have
third.
them in fourth. Yeah.
Um, but
Be
yeah,
interesting.
I
We'll have
think
to do in our pre-season one like a prediction of the league, and then we
yeah, I
can look
think
at it
we'll
later
we'll
on.
do a full Premier League and Chelsea prediction later this week. But overall, I'm very impressed, to be honest, and we're going to come onto it now. We've got to sort the defence out and work out where we're at with that. And also the goalkeeper, the goalkeeper situation is quite funny. Because did you hear? Oh, I don't know if it come through on the telly, but in the stadium, all the Chelsea fans chanting to Maignan, "You're just a shit, Rob Sanchez." Was It was so funny, man.
It was
I
funny.
must say
Yeah.
though, I thought Maignan was playing with a point to prove yesterday. The way he played, he was front-footed whenever he had the ball in his hands. It was like
Yeah.
it. I might be reading into it and I might be being a little bit silly, but it felt like a come and get me plea. It was like, look, I am good enough. Come and get me, because he was brilliant. He made a couple of unbelievable saves, and the two Palmer free kicks that just missed, he was there. I'm not sure they were going in because he was there for both. So
I think the
yeah,
first
overall,
one would have gone in because it clipped the post, but the second one, I think he was there. But I
yeah,
know what you mean. I thought he was good. I thought he was a little bit ropey to start with. Obviously, the own goal he couldn't do anything about, and the second goal, I don't think he had a particularly any chance with it either.
no,
But um, I did think to start with, is he kind of, as the pressure of trying to convince Chelsea to sign him got to him, but actually after that, I thought he was very good. His distribution was good. Like you say, he's front
yeah,
footed. As soon as he got the ball, he was trying to play it. I
yeah.
mean, he was, yeah, I just think he was solid. I don't think the goalkeeper situation is over because neither Sanchez nor Jorgensen want to be number two. And I think if either get a bid towards the end of this, to the end of the transfer window that Chelsea are happy with, they might sell him, and then somebody like a Magnon could
But
come back up on the radar.
this is the thing: Chelsea categorically will not sign a number two. And if one of them goalkeepers leaves, they're going to have to sign a goalkeeper, which means they will have to go and sign a number one. So,
And the
yeah,
only one out there that's easy to get, that's going to be relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things, is Magnon. Because
thing is, we
even
know the
if you went for
conditions.
somebody else, it's going to be 40 million is going to be what everybody
Yeah,
quotes you at the end of the transfer window.
and we know the conditions of the deal already. They're going to have to sell if he's not going to sign a contract, which is still not looking likely. So, yeah, I still think that one's up for the debate a little bit. And one last point from me: it was lovely to see Ruben back at the bridge. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a
Spoke very
massive
well
Ruben
before
fan.
the game. You probably didn't see it because you were obviously at the game, but he spoke well about how it's nice to see Chelsea doing well again and be nice to be back, see some familiar faces. I thought he was pretty good as well yesterday. I think
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he got a
probably
massive,
probably not
massive
in his
standing ovation
best.
as well.
He probably wasn't in his best role either. I mean, kind
No.
of playing as a 10, he should have been one of the midfielders behind that. But um, yeah, I thought he was very good.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was nice to see him get a good reaction from the fans, and nice to see him speak well. I mean, we said it last week again. Being at Cobham, even if you don't make it at Chelsea, you're still going to have a very good career, and Loftus-Cheek has managed to do that. So me, you, and Sai, and probably Jay as well, because he has loves a man crush. All been big on Loftus-Cheek
yeah, man.
for a while. So yeah, good to see that. Right. So the last thing we were going to get onto and speak about is the centre back reinforcement. I think it's a really tricky situation. I'm not quite sure what I would do, um, but we'll have to see what they do, because we've got 15 centre backs, half of them not particularly good enough. And then you've got Josh Achimpong and Gerald Hato, as the subscriber said earlier, that we could use. I think unless you can get somebody on a loan deal, we are probably looking at just dealing with it in house because of the long term ramifications of once Colwell's back and how that all works, and Josh's minutes long term as well. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think I'm coming around to agreeing with it. I think when we spoke about it last week, it was very fresh, and I wasn't sure what I was thinking, to be honest. And I'm still a little bit like that, but also I just don't know if there's the right player in the market. Even if Mark Gahey wanted to join us, I'm not sure he's the right player to sign. Um, and then anywhere outside of that, I'm just not convinced. Like you say, if we can get a potential loan deal or a very cheap deal for maybe an older defender that would only be at the club for a year or two, then I would probably be okay with it. But like you said, I'd be a little concerned for Josh's minutes. Obviously, there is the inevitable outcome of Wesley Fofana getting injured at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
That's my
so
issue. I'm not too bothered now. Like coming to Palace, where you could play Fofana and Tosin, or Fofana and Trevor. That's I'm kind of okay with that. With like Josh and Hato filling in those positions as well. It's just in 6 weeks' time when Fofana's out for another 4 months, what do you do then?
Exactly, and you have to be aware of those potential circumstances arising, and I'm sure the club are. So yes, you've obviously got the chance of Joao Pedro covering, but then that leaves you short a left back as well still. Um,
Yeah.
for me, it's a difficult one. I think it's either got to be a free agent, which I don't think there are any to the quality that we would desire available, or it's got to be
Don't even know
an
one,
old
to be honest.
an older defender that we could potentially get for a year or two, or maybe a loan, maybe a loan from somewhere that again it's about the quality. There's no point adding to add. You've got to add
Yeah.
quality if you're going to add. So yeah, I
I mean,
think it's going to be an interesting one.
we were just discussing it in our group chat, but I think maybe somebody like a Laporte, Emerick Laporte, who's meant to be leaving Saudi already, or maybe you can get him on a loan, or you get him on a permanent, which probably wouldn't be too much either, because they don't seem to sell for a lot when they do sell back to Europe. But he's 31 years old. He's won everything. He could fit in perfectly, just as that
Yeah,
left centre back cover. Next year would be 32, 30, would be like 32, maybe going on 33. Um, he won't have to play as much. He can come back to London, have a quite comfortable life, be a good little leader in the dressing room as well, and still a quality player.
yeah, exactly. I think that'd be a good
He's
shout,
only got
something
one
like
year,
that.
Dev. He's only got 1 year left on his deal in Saudi as well. So,
Well, he's definitely leaving Saudi this summer. So because
mm,
there was concrete chance he was going back to Athletic Bilbao, but I think there was an
yeah,
issue. There's been an issue with that deal so far. So maybe that's something Chelsea could look at, but I'm not massively convinced we're going to do anything with it. I know it seems like Maresca's pushing, but then also we've got to be very careful with the likes of Josh. Realistically, I think Josh is going to get good minutes this season regardless.
hmm
But I must say though, I've been so impressed with Tosin. I gave him a lot of stick when we signed him, but I've been
he's
really
definitely
impressed with
improved.
him. Yeah,
He's definitely
I've been
improved.
very impressed with him, and so much so that I'm actually quite comfortable with the Tosin and Trev partnership for now. It is my concern is like you've mentioned good examples of if we have to go away to the Bernabeu or something like that. But I don't know if there's a centre back that we sign or have internally that makes that situation much better. I'm not sure I'd have even been that confident if we got to go there with Levi at the back. So
Yeah.
it's one of those. We've got to a point where our squad is quite harmonious that we don't want to upset the apple cart for no real reason. Unless you're seriously adding quality, there's
Yeah.
no point upsetting the apple cart.
So I think the Laporte one can work quite well because he's not going to dominate. He's not going to come in and be like, I have to play every single minute. He's got that leadership. He can be that left centre back, so he's left-footed. Um, and it kind of keeps everything else kind of the same.
Yeah,
I think it could be a smart move. He's also just went and earned probably like 300 grand a week, so he's probably not that bothered too much on wages. Um, Obviously, he'll have to be paid fairly, but he's not going to want 300 grand a week. He's according to Google, just quickly, he's on like 20 million a year tax free in Saudi, and so um, it's like 470 euros a week. So come live in London, bring your family to London, come have a nice couple of years at Stamford Bridge. I think that's I think that's a good move all round, to be honest. If he's available and if he's interested.
yeah, I'm
Um,
with you.
it doesn't do it long term. That was my issue. Is if you go inside Gurhey, when Colwell comes back, all of a sudden it's Fafana, Colwell, Gurhey, Achimpong, Sarr, who are all relatively young. And how does that work long term? Whereas an Emerick Laporte at 31, 32 years old, he can just kind of slot in where and when we need him.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I agree.
if you're going to the Bernabeu, you don't want to risk playing Josh Achimpong or Levi in your example as well. He's not going to be scared about playing at the Bernabeu.
Yeah, yeah, I
Very
agree.
as well. He can kind of replace a little bit of what Colwell does. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think Colwell is a very similar profile wise to Laporte was in his prime. Obviously, I've not
mm.
seen him play since he left City a couple of
No,
years
I
ago,
haven't.
but
I
um,
haven't, but he's still been playing in the France squad. Was it France or has he played for
Spain,
Spain?
Spain,
Spain, sorry.
Spain.
I know he's born in France but plays for Spain.
Yeah.
He's still been playing at international level. He's still been playing loads of minutes in Saudi, so he's not going to be way off it. So I
Yeah,
think it could be a good
exactly.
move.
I think it could just be smart. There's a leader there, experience, a proven winner. So yeah, for me, it's either a deal along those lines, or we just leave it alone and reassess in January.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can get through till January, and then by that point you might know the situation with Colwell um, for the rest of the season. But
And to see if Fafana stayed fit for that long.
yeah, for
And
sure. But I think if Maresca is really pushing, and I think he deserves kind of what he wants. If he's really worried about it and what have you, then let's do it.
well, he's been
Um,
back to a window, hasn't he? So they've just got to continue to back him.
yeah. And just maybe take slightly less on Badiashile than you want, or take slightly less on Dasasi on what you want, just to be able to free up the space to then bring in a player that Maresca really likes. But
Yeah,
um, I don't think it's easy. I'm not going to criticize the sporting directors too much either way with whatever they do because it is a tricky situation. Um, and to be fair, the way they're performing so far in this window, bar goalkeeper, I kind of trust them to do the right thing. So
yeah.
let's see what happens. But yeah, that's the end of that episode. Make sure you follow us across all socials. Drop a like, drop a comment, um, enter into the giveaway. Make sure you pop your comments on what you think about the episode or any thoughts on what we've discussed, and maybe you'll be the comment of the episode for the next time. Really appreciate you all guys listening, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye bye.